Hey everybody, I wanted to do a little family devotional for our families tonight, for our kids and for everybody. And so I have this box right here, and I wonder what's in this box. What could be in this box? So let's open it up. Looks like it's a book. Oh, it's kind of fascinating. Wow, it's kind of a fancy book. Look at this thing. It's kind of a hardback, has this, I don't even know. Oh, it looks like a coat of arms. Nothing venture, nothing win. That's interesting. Nothing venture, nothing win. Oh, on the spine of it, it says, view from the summit, and it has Edmund Hillary. Does anybody know who Edmund Hillary is? Who could tell me who Edmund Hillary is? Maybe you've heard his name referred to, Sir Edmund Hillary. Well, from those who do not know, Sir Edmund Hillary, look at this. Look at that note right here. It says, view from a summit, and the author, Sir Edmund Hillary. And it tells you kind of on the very back about his life. In 1953, no one had yet climbed Mount Everest. Indeed, no one knew if it was physically possible to do so. On May 29th, 1953, 33-year-old New Zealand beekeeper Edmund Hillary and his Sherpa, Tenzing Norgay, reached the summit of Everest and stepped onto the roof of the world. Believing his achievement would be of interest only to other climbers, Hillary descended to find he had become a living legend. Knighted by the young Queen Elizabeth II, and now Sir Edmund Hillary lived a life of, as he put it, somewhat vigorous activity. His monumental adventures include the first trans-Arctic expedition to the South Pole in 1958, and the first successful climb of Antarctica's Mount Herschel in 1967, and in 1977, the first exploration of the Ganges River to its source in the Himalayas. This man accomplished quite a bit in life. He was quite the adventurer, so that's kind of fascinating. And this book is a copy of A View to the Summit, which is his autobiography. It's a life story. But what's fascinating about this book, you might be able to see it, is that it is a first edition, and it's also autographed by him. He signed this. So this is a very unique and collectible book that's worth probably a lot of money. So that's kind of a great little book to have in life. And so I find it fascinating to have, and I enjoy it. And so it is signed by him. Now, you know, up at the very top, you can actually see the curvature of the earth. So do you know what that means? That means that you can see the earth round it. You can see the curve of the earth. So a lot of times when we look out, we just see the earth flat from our perspective. But because Mount Everest is so high up, you can see all the way in the distance, and you can see how the earth is actually round like a globe, which is how the earth is actually in space. Now, when you have that type of perspective where you can look out and see the curvature, that means that you are looking way up high and you can look down on the earth and you can see things that you can't see. It's kind of like the idea of providence in the Bible. And providence is seeing God act in this world, but you don't really know he's doing it until after the fact, after you have some time and some life. And you can look back and say, hey, maybe God was working at that time. So a good example of this in the Bible is from this book called Philemon. And Philemon's a one-chapter book, and we don't talk about it too much, but it's about a master, Paul's writing him, about a slave who is actually a runaway. So Philemon, it starts off with, is to Philemon, our beloved fellow worker. Now he is the master of this slave, and the slave's name is Onesimus. And Onesimus has taken off, and when he is taken off, he ends up meeting Paul, and he becomes a Christian. And now Paul is actually sending him back, but he wants Philemon to treat him well because he has been profitable to him. And so he's writing him this type of letter. But I really like to highlight Philemon chapter 1. Now remember, there's no other chapter, so it's actually just Philemon. And then verse 15. Look what it says. For this perhaps is why he was parted from you for a while, that you might have him back forever. No longer as a slave, but more than a slave, as a beloved brother, especially to me. But how much more to you, both in the flesh and in the Lord. So Paul's looking back and saying, well, maybe this whole Onesimus running away, meeting him, becoming a Christian, and then now returning back is all part of God's plan for this man's life. And Paul can't say for sure, because with providence, it's always kind of below the surface. Think about it like water. You have above the surface what you can see, and then below the surface is what you can't see. But we know that God is working below human perception. So a miracle is something that you can see. It happens right before your eyes. And providence is happening beneath your perspective, beneath your eyes. And you can't always say what's taking place. But we know God is working behind the scenes in this world. So right now, what do you think God is doing with this quarantine? What do you think God is working right now in people's lives? Maybe God is working by giving everybody a break. A lot of times people don't have as much to do, and I hear a lot of my friends talking about how they actually have some time for hobbies that they've just kind of given up because their schedules got so busy. A lot of times people are saying to me, I got so much more time to read my Bible. I got more time to really focus on my spirituality. You have people reaching out to people that haven't reached out to them for a while because a lot of times our calendars are so packed with enough socialization that out of sight, out of mind. So God is working, and we don't know how he's working, but we know God will do good things through this. And so God is below the surface, or we're seeing the curvature that when we look back on this time, we'll probably realize that God was teaching us some really valuable lessons and maybe opening some doors that we may not have even pondered or we were too busy to even walk through. So I just want everybody to think about right now, what could God be doing in your life? So if you had the opportunity to stand on that summit and look down and you have a new perspective, what perspective do you think God is trying to teach you right now? So that's our devotional. Thank you so much for tuning in. Have your kids talk about ask them this when we finish up with the video. What do you think God's doing? What is God doing in this world, as well as what is God doing in their lives right now? And ask that question for yourself and answer that question together as a family. So thank you so much for tuning in. Happy Wednesday. And please tune in for our services streaming on Sunday at 10 o'clock Mountain Time. And looking forward to celebrating Easter with you this Sunday. We'll look different, but we are glad to be together in the Spirit. So thank you so much for tuning in.